Hello, it's Philip Carr-Gomm, and it's lovely to see you. It's Tea with the Druid 114. Do say that you're here, and let me know that that you can hear me properly, and I'd love to hear where you are as well. Displaying things a little differently on my screen. This always happens with technology. Things change, and so as you arrive in the clearing in the forest, do say, Cat Rose from California, that's great, and Sigrid from Austria, and Dean from the forest. It's lovely, great to see you coming in. So it's winter at the moment, and certainly in the northern hemisphere, and today I was heaving some huge trees in pots that we've got through this gale, and the trees were whipping around, and I've kind of done my back in, and it got me thinking about how easily we see the world in black and white. Tell me if this resonates with you, how easy it is to see, things as either good or bad. Trump is awful and somebody else is fabulous. Indian food is great, but Chinese food isn't, and so on and so on. So everything is put into categories of good and bad, a kind of black and white world. And then this simplistic process that we use, it's obviously evolved from an evolutionary point of view to enable us to make quick decisions about, do I go left or right? This tendency to put things in one of two baskets, we can apply to the whole year. Summer's fabulous, winter's terrible. I find a lot of the time I'm playing that tape in my head that you might be familiar with is, oh God, I'm just so looking forward to the spring and to summer when it's sunny and I can be outside. And it's not, we've had a lot of rain in the UK. If you're not in the UK, you may not know there's been lots of flooding in the UK. It must be terrible for lots of people. I see Stephen Rogers is in North Wales, so you've been having a lot of rain, Stephen. So the weather's been bad, and so it's very natural to start plotting, thinking about your summer holiday and wondering whether you can engineer your whole life to be away from here in the winter and so on. And I was on holiday last week. I went into the Balkan Mountains, favorite place of mine, up in the snow, and it was just lovely. The air was fresh and wonderful. And I took a book with me called Wintering by Katherine May, beautifully produced book. And I found it so healing and so helpful. It did something really important for me. Katherine contacted me because she was exploring this idea of how we relate to the winter. And so she interviewed me, and I shared with her a key idea in Druidry. And she found it helpful, so she popped in the book in the middle. And then the rest of the book is a wonderful exploration of all sorts of different things. She goes to Iceland to sit in the Blue Lagoon. She travels into the Arctic to look at the Northern Lights. But she's exploring wintering from a psychological point of view, exploring what happens when we go into those winters of gloom and depression. So she looks at seasonal affective disorder as well, at the power of saunas. And so she weaves into a kind of personal memoir a lot of interesting facts and details. I learned, for instance, about a particular theory in psychiatry about the brain being inflamed, causing depression, and the inflammation of the brain can sometimes be the cause of depression, according to one theory and some research. There's lots of interesting material in there, but it's also very poetically written. And and I'd like to read you a bit from it. But I found what it did for me while I was sitting in the mountains and actually sitting at the airport on the way out and back again, was that my feelings about winter, it really helped to get me into the mood and to open to the wonders of winter and the depths of winter. which of course intellectually I know, and experientially I've been working with this for years, but I still have those tapes that run in my head saying, oh, get out of here, get into the sun. So here's the idea I shared with Katherine, which Druidry offers, which is that we have 3 winter festivals. And in fact, in the eightfold wheel of the year that Druids celebrate, each season has 3 festivals. So if you look at winter, our first winter festival is Samhain, around the end of October, beginning of November. And that's when the autumn is starting to end, and you've got this lovely transition between the 2 seasons. And by the end of October and the beginning of November, you can feel that. And I remember this year, it was, or rather last year, it was particularly noticeable. It was like on the 1st of November, the air had that kind of bitterness in it, little bite in it, and whoops, here it's coming. So Samhain is a time of transition, and it transitions us from the summer and autumn into the winter. And the way Samhain is traditionally 3 days, and those sort of 3 days are collapsed into the one ritual that we do in the order. So we enter this liminal time, and because winter is a liminal time, and in that way, that's what Katherine May explores in her book, the way winter is this liminal time where certain things go on hold. Some things shut down, and if you're an active person who likes and is perhaps extroverted too, that kind of shutting down can be quite hard, hence a sense of gloom that can happen. I see Erja is in Stockholm, and so all about that quality of winter, I'm sure, Erja, of how it can feel like you're having to shut down. In the book, Katherine talks about a friend in Finland who, talks very eloquently and vigorously about this. And then you're prepared in Druidry by Samhain, and then you move, of course, to the midwinter festival of the winter solstice. And somehow, by breaking the season up into 3, it's a bit like the way if you break anything down into chunks, it's easier. It's called I think NLP, it's called chunking. You're faced with a big task, writing a book, completing some kind of work project, redecorating your house, whatever it is, a big project. It feels overwhelming. Well, one of the tricks is to chunk it, to say, okay, I'm going to paint this room this week, and I'm only going to think about this room, and I'll just paint this room, and that's it. Or I'll write chapter 1 of the book, and I'll only think about that. I won't be daunted by the huge task that it seems to be. So you do chunk by chunk by chunk, and then hey presto, 6 months has passed, or years passed, and you finished the book or repainted the house or whatever. So one of the things it does is very simple. It just chunks the winter. It says, okay, 3 festivals: Samhain, Olbenathan, the winter solstice, and Imolc, the final winter ceremony. But it's doing more than that. It's Samhain is getting you into this liminal space, allowing you to shut down, but also open up in a different way to the darkness, to dreams, to the world of sleep and the other world, the world of the ancestors too. Then you get to the midwinter ceremony, and there's that sense of when something peaks, you also know it's ending. It's at its most intense. But the kind of good news in the middle of that is that, okay, from now on, the days are getting longer. And so you can take it. You've survived. You've made it to the midwinter solstice. And the dawn rises, the solstice dawn rises. You can imagine you're in the New Grange, and the winter solstice sunrise comes up through what's called the box, which is that box above the passage, and the sunlight of the midwinter sun rises, and you're into the new cycle already. So there's a wonderful feeling of rebirth, and that's, those are the kind of ideas that Christmas brings as well. Where that lovely moment when you turn the lights off in the sitting room and you turn the lights of the tree on, and there's that lovely smell of pine, and you see see all the little tiny lights of the Christmas tree. And then there's one more festival, which we've just had, which is Imbolc. Now, Imbolc is both the first spring festival and the last winter festival. That's why each of the 4 seasons can have 3 festivals, and that doesn't make 12, it makes 8, for those of you who are mathematicians. So Imbolc, around the beginning of February, marks the beginning of spring, and this year, here, certainly in the south of England, it's very noticeable. The daffodils are out, the snowdrops are out, the crocuses are out, the primroses are out. There's the beginnings of spring, but it's still very cold indeed here. Cold and wet and many grey skies, a few bright days, but there's no doubt it's still winter in many ways. Now, if I didn't have those 3 markers, I'd go nuts, because winter can just seem so long. But these 3 festivals for me help me to mark the seasons, honor the time that I'm in and open to them. And let me just read you. So Wintering by Katherine May is a sort of extended, it's not, I was going to say an extended meditation, but it's more than that, because at one level, it's a very easy read. It's a memoir. She's talking about life in Whitstable, which is in Kent, the northern coast of Kent, a lovely little town in Kent, on the sea. She's crazy. She goes swimming every day in the sea. So the graphic descriptions of what it's like to swim every morning in the ice cold North Sea, but there's also a lot of interesting facts as well. She's talking about bees and the life of bees in the winter. And of course, the whole life of bees is fascinating, and various people from the fascists through to politicians and esotericists have talked about bees as symbols of the sort of ideal society and all the rest of it. But Katherine takes exception to this and says, the life of a sociable insect has nothing to say about us. Our lives take different shapes. We do not work in a linear progression through fixed roles like the honeybee. We are not consistently useful to the world at large. We talk about the complexity of the hive, but human societies are infinitely more complex, full of choices and mistakes, periods of glory and seasons of utter despair. Some of us make highly visible, elaborate contributions to the whole. Some of us are part of the ticking mechanics of the world, the incremental wealth of small gestures. All of it matters. All of it weaves the wider fabric that binds us. We may sometimes drift through years in which we feel like a negative presence in the world, but we come back again, not only restored, but bringing more than we brought before. More wisdom, more compassion, a greater capacity to reach deep into our roots and know that we will find water. Usefulness in itself is a useless concept when it comes to humans. I don't think we were ever meant to think about others in terms of their use to us. We keep pets just for the pleasure of looking after them. We voluntarily feed these extra mouths and scoop up excrement in little plastic bags and declare it relaxing. We channel our adoration towards the most helpless citizens of all, babies and children, for reasons that have nothing to do with their future utility. We flourish on caring, on doling out love. The most helpless members of our families and communities are what stick us together. It's how we thrive. So, wonderful. This is one of those books I'm almost finished, but I'm reluctant to finishing it. So I'm going to savor the last few pages. So I thought we should have a meditation in the snow. Let's do that. I don't think I've ever done a meditation in the snow. So let's, if you're up for it, let's have a go. So here we go. You might like to close your eyes to better concentrate on yourself. I'm going to occasionally open my eyes to make sure we're still connected. And I'm going to breathe in deeply. Hold my breath for a while. And then breathe out slowly and fully. And then let's do that together. Breathing in deeply. Holding the breath for a moment. And then breathing out slowly and fully. Just becoming aware of being present in front of our screens, and yet at the same time allowing the awareness of facing a computer to gently fade as you become aware of moving towards a clearing in the forest. And you might like to sense yourself moving through the trees. For those of you who've read the Narnia books, you might remember, as you were a child when you first read it and you came through the cupboard and you came out through the trees into the snow. Just imagine you're going through the trees now and it's snowing gently. And come into the clearing in the forest. And this may be a very familiar place to you. If you're a Druid, if you're working with the Obod course, you'll be familiar with having your sacred grove. If you're not familiar with it, it's just the idea of a clearing in the forest and a place of quiet and safety and peace. And just find yourself a comfortable place to sit. Imagine that there's a nice log that has miraculously got no snow on it, so you can sit on it comfortably. Or sit on the ground, do whatever you like, but just here you are. One of the great advantages of meditating in this way is that you can do things like swim underwater or sit in the snow without it hurting you. So you might like to try sitting on the ground and just hear that lovely scrunch as you sit down. Sense the layer of snow beneath you. The magic of all this water frozen into snowflakes. The extraordinary miracle and scientific fact that every snowflake is unique and different in its shape. And you're sitting on thousands and thousands of these. And then below that is the earth, and you can sense the earth beneath you. Sense all the life in the earth now. And allow the life in the earth and the life energy in this carpet of snow to feed your subtle energy body. Just sit here breathing in and out. Just enjoying that feeling of freshness. Of subtle vitality that is flowing up into your energy field. And now sense the trees around you. How the snow has covered the leaves and branches and the boughs of the trees. And you can feel how the tree is appreciating the snow. How there's a stillness in the air and a benefit it's receiving, or they are receiving, from this temperature. And the tree is basking in the cold and in the snow as it falls gently down around it. And you're doing the same, you realize. You're basking, bathing, loving this sense of being in the freshness and in the snow. And now become aware of the sky. You might open your inner eyes in your sacred grove, or you might just be aware of the sky and just feel the magic of the snowflakes gently drifting down. You might even like to just tilt your head back and open your mouth so you can feel some snowflakes falling onto your tongue. And just feel blessed by the snow. Breathing in and breathing out. And feeling blessed by this snow, blessed by sitting in the peace and quiet of the grove. You know that you can return to this special place in your meditations and in your imagination at any time to energize yourself, to feel calm and connected to all of nature. And so now just imagine that you're leaning forward and put both of your palms out on the snow and just feel the cold and feel the magic of the snow on your hands. And then lift your hands up and bring your palms to your heart. And then gradually allow your awareness of being in the clearing in the forest to fade as you become more and more present to being in front of your screen, in front of your computer, here and now, fully present. And when you feel ready, you open your eyes. Well, that's lovely. That was lovely to be in the snow, wasn't it? And I can see Atle Gundersen from Norway is with us, and so is Heather Rowan Robbins in the deep cold of Montana. Gunther in Switzerland, which must be very snowy. Fantastic. So I hope you had a very good meditation. I hope you have a wonderful week where the magic of winter and the deep calm and healing that it can bring can be a blessing. Sooner than ever we'll be in the spring and the summer, and then it'll be sunny, and it'll be a whole different feeling, and we can explore together the spring festivals. But for now, let's enjoy the last weeks of winter for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. So many, many blessings and lots of love. Au revoir.